I was one of the unlucky few who for some reason found myself infatuated with the idea of being able to put myself within a completely fictional world. The ability to take control of any character and play as them was magical to me. It far surpassed any wonder or immersion I had felt while watching a movie or reading because, well, in those forms of media, you're observing the main characters advance through the plot. Every lesson they learn, although it can still definitely vicariously influence the audience, the potency of the message is definitely diluted, as no matter what, there will always be a slight disconnect between the fictional world and ours. Games, on the other hand, you are the main character. It allows for you to be immersed into a story in a way no other form of media is able to even come close to. When Kirby gets a bellyache, you feel it.
Mom? I've played many video games in my 1.8 decades of life. Some great, some... Maybe I'm just not the target audience, but to this day, one particular gaming franchise has managed to burrow its way so deep into my heart that it's managed to genuinely become a really important part of my life. A game series that I hold near and dear, one which, if I never came across it, I doubt that I would be as big of a gaming fan as I am today. Please take me to that universe. So, I'm in the delivery room, my mom does the whole labor thing, and then the nurse is all like, "It's a boy." Wait, hold up, what the fuck is that? Yep, unfortunately for me, I was chosen by the anthropomorphic mascot gods to become what is commonly known as a Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic for short. A bitch. Something about his style, his angst, his laid-back but also caring attitude struck a chord in me. He was just so cool. For me, he was the perfect character. He was all these things that I really wanted to be, but at the same time, he was still just a kid. He didn't have everything sorted out. He was still just as naive about the world as I was, and that made it so easy to relate to him. I consumed everything about this little hedgehog. While I never had a Genesis, I had Sonic 1, 2, and 3 on my iPad, which I would play to death. Although, thinking back on it now, I definitely don't think I got very far. I replayed them recently, and once I got to like the 4th zone in each game, it was like I was playing them for the first time. But that was for good reason too. Unlike Mario, which I was also a huge goober for, Sonic was hard, at least for a 4-year-old Ty. That was honestly another huge reason that I love Sonic so much because, and this may sound silly now, but it felt like a hard grown-up game. It felt almost as if I was rebelling just by playing each one. So when I would see Sonic do his little angsty idol poses, it would just all come together to create this ultimate experience for me. And we can't forget about Sonic's whole thing. He's fast. That's cool. I wanted so badly to feel that ultimate sense of liberation that he would feel as he's zooming past his enemies at 100 kilometers per hour. And not to brag, but I actually was the fastest kid in my school growing up. I remember whenever I would win a race, I would strike that finger wag pose that he does, and I'm forever grateful that no pictures of that exist anywhere. I used to believe that the reason that I was so fast was because I, quote, studied how Sonic would run, and naturally that exponentially increased my pace. Who knows? Maybe I still believe that.
Naturally, as I grew up, I continued to play every single Sonic game, 2D and even 3D, building my arsenal of game copies and strengthening my connections with the Blue Blur all throughout my childhood and teenage years. Just kidding! Maybe in another universe, but in this one, I never actually even touched another Sonic game apart from Colors, which I played to death on my Wii. I never even touched the adventure games. Heroes, 06, Unleashed, Generations, Lost Worlds, Forces, Mania, or Frontiers, which is weird considering I had heard of each one and wanted to play all of them, but for some reason, I never got any of them. Could you think of anything worse? Despite my distinct lack of Sonic Mainline games during the majority of my childhood, his place as my #1 favorite fictional character of all time never even came close to wavering, and I know exactly why. Mario and Sonic at the 2012 Olympic Games and 2014 Winter Games were my games. They're mine. I won't spend too long on these, perhaps I'll make them their own video at some point, but all you need to know is that I would have poured hundreds of hours into these games growing up. Just the idea of my two favorite gaming mascots going head to head in a bunch of sports was enthralling to me. And on top of that, the dream minigames were wacky spins on each sport with so much love and passion poured into the entire package. Just hearing the main theme brings me right back to my little red couch where I'd play this non-stop. Clearly, this game kept Sonic alive within my heart to this day, which is obvious with a single cursory glance around my room. Recently though, my girlfriend asked me what my favorite Sonic game actually was, and it wasn't until then that I realized I was sort of a poser Sonic bitch. How could I call him my favorite character if the last time I really checked up on him was in a game from 2013? I decided right then and there that I wouldn't stand for it. I was gonna play all of Sonic's games. Firstly, I had to narrow this task down significantly. I'm a pre-med uni student with a job on top of that, so I'm not really looking to play over 100 games just for the sake of saying I did, you know? No, I needed the mainline games. Furthermore, my favorite part of Sonic, apart from his speed, was his attitude, his character. Now, in his 2D games, I definitely think he still has a lot of spunk. It's amazing how much attitude the developers were able to pack into these second-long idle animations. But at the end of the day, there's only so much a foot tap can portray, and I've already played these games 10 times over, so because of that, I'm narrowing it even further to 3D mainline games. That leaves Sonic Adventure, Adventure 2, Heroes, maybe Shadow the Hedgehog, Sonic 06, Generations, Lost Worlds, Forces, and Frontiers.
You forgot about me.
Right, okay. Turns out not only have there been a bunch of games made after I stopped playing Ride Around Colors, but my parents waited a full 5 3D Sonic games before they brought me, his #1 fan, into existence. I'm not sure I'll be able to forgive them for that, but I suppose they did have some other obstacles in their way during the release of Sonic Adventure that may have delayed my birth, like the fact that they lived in different countries, so I guess I'll cut them some slack. I suppose if I need to start somewhere, I may as well start at the beginning, at Sonic's first foray into the third dimension. Sonic Adventure released in 1998 for the Sega Dreamcast, the console that forced Sega to stop developing hardware and focus solely on game development for third-party consoles. Good start, and when did the Dreamcast come out? Alright, so here we have a Sonic game that released with Sega's brand new console that ultimately led to the company having to jump ship before they went completely bankrupt. Well, it wasn't Sonic's fault, right? Well, I'm sure it was just shitty circumstances. I mean, what could have possibly been going on in the gaming industry at the time to provide such high pressure on Sonic to succeed and win over the players on competing platforms? Let's just play the game. I'm playing the game on my PS3, which is a port of the DX version, which was brought to the GameCube. Now, some fans would tell you that I'm not getting the true experience due to the fact that the DX version uses different character models and slightly different physics. And to be fair, shut up. I checked my Dreamcast cupboard and I seem to be running low at the moment, so this is the best I can do. One more problem, the game was ported to the PS2, not the PS3, and my PS3 doesn't have backwards compatibility with PS2 games, so I'm just gonna sit here and not pirate the game for a minute and look away for a second, and who loaded the game onto my console while I wasn't looking? Damn it. I mean, I guess I'll take it, but I would never pirate a game. Alright, well, let's just press start here, and alright, straight away, this looks like a pretty nice city, pretty impressive scenery considering the game originally launched on a dead body in 1998. What else released in that year? Oh. Well, now the city is getting absolutely demolished by this wet lizard thing, and then we cut to some blue rat running through the jungle. What was his name again? Oh, right. Couple brooding shots of magma and an eye again, probably nothing. Flying mammal, flying rodent, sexy cat, Jesus Christ, tsunami, and then it's over. Pretty good start, I have to say. The sick rock music and the absolute carnage being brought upon the city was definitely a shock to me. I know Sonic has always been a little bit more edgy and big quotes mature than other mascots like Mario, but to be greeted with a full blockbuster level cutscene of an entire city being wiped out by some doomsday monster and natural disasters straight off the bat was an excellent surprise. They'll probably keep up the balls to the wall, full metal, hardcore tension the whole way through, right?
So we open up to the city at night. Sonic's somehow running on the side of some buildings, then decides to take a break on the top of a rooftop. Oh, those facial animations caught me a bit off guard, but still, who cares? It was 1998. They were figuring shit out. Obviously, hindsight is 2020, where today we have these beautiful 3D models of Sonic, all with the modern design of the character. Seeing this, it's nice. It was clearly a first attempt. 3D modeling was in its stone ages at the time. It wasn't as readily understood as it is today. For most of the developers involved, this was their first dive into 3D game design, and for that, I think I can suspend my confusion? Disgust? Not sure. I mean, I'm still definitely gonna make fun of it because like,
oh yeah! This is happening!
But I can at least understand. Alright then, the next shot in my children's game about a fast rodent is a squad of military men with assault rifles crowding around some weird watery creature that... Wait a minute. If I didn't know any better, I would say this is the very same water creature from the opening cinematic, where it was absolutely decimating the city. Wait a second. We're in a city. It's probably unrelated. Sonic jumps in, and after another dose of amazing voice acting, we're actually given complete control over Sonic. I was very surprised at how buttery smooth it felt to actually control him. The camera was fixed onto Chaos, so in this first fight, you jump and perform a homing attack by pressing X again. It wasn't hard, but I did die, embarrassingly. Although it was literally only the first actual portion of gameplay in this entire game, this small section introduced me to what would later become the biggest detriment of the entire experience to me. Clunk. Sonic is very floaty, which sometimes feels very good, but when I'm trying to precisely time when to attack Chaos in between his arm spins, having to wait for Sonic to get in the right place just so I can pull off one successful attack is really annoying. All in all though, a great start to the game. Coming from 2D games, it's great to see this one introduce a narrative straight off the bat, even if at the moment things aren't very clear. They've introduced characters and alongside them, questions. What is this water thing? Is it the same water thing from the start? How does it turn into that? Why do these men have assault rifles? Why are they shooting this water creature but not this anthropomorphic talking blue hedgehog? I'm intrigued, and I guess I'll have to keep playing in order to get answers. Cut to the next day, Tails dies in a tragic accident in his plane. I go to check up on him and I'm thrust into the first traditional stage of the game. This is what I was most excited for going into these games, how they would translate the specific feel of Sonic's 2D entries, where you're zooming through these intricately crafted stages at Mach 10 speed, all filled to the brim with branching paths and secrets to allow the player to replay them over and over and still find new ways to complete their level. This one looks very tropical, like the first stage in a certain other PS2 game that I was meaning to play. I don't want to sound like I'm bitching, but let me for just a little bit. Sonic's all about going fast, and when you're in a 2D plane, the only way you can go is forwards and back. In this 3D space though, he can go all over the place, and that's just what this little rat did. It felt as if, when running at max speed, even if I slightly tilted the control stick, Sonic would pull a full 180 and just run it right off the map. It's especially hard when I'm running through tight spaces because it's like, what do you want me to do? It felt as if every time I would actually build up some pace, 2 seconds later a corner would appear and Sonic would run smack dab into it, killing all my momentum. At times, I could get around it by just simply holding forwards, and the game would automatically tilt Sonic in the direction that it wanted him to go. But then other times, it just wouldn't. So it was this constant guessing game of do I turn the stick or not? Other than that, yeah, it was pretty good. I know fully well that most of the fault is likely on me, so maybe I'll get better at the controls as I go along. So apparently Tails isn't dead, he just crashed because he was using a new prototype plane run by a Chaos Emerald, which is like the MacGuffin of the Sonic universe. Plot not advancing? Throw in a Chaos Emerald. Anyways, Tails says to meet him at the Mystic Ruins, so let's go see him there. One quick train stop away and oh look, Eggman. Looking great. Sonic calls Eggman a loser and now we fight. Once again, this fight feels really nice to control. Having the camera locked on the enemy and no tight passageways really allows Sonic to shine. We can finally get a sense for his speed and tactility here that we just couldn't do when it was so start and stop before. We defeat him easily and then stupid Tails walks right by holding the Chaos Emerald like a little idiot, which Eggman obviously steals and feeds it to Chaos, which grows like a tiny bit. Eggman gives a little evil speech about how he's going to destroy the city, blah blah blah, and then Tail has the gall to tell me that I have to go get the Chaos Emeralds, as if he wasn't the one who basically just gave Eggman his one. Next to Tails' lab I find this stone, which I carry around until I find a mysterious looking stone shaped hole, which I put it in, unlocking the second stage of the game. Yeah, this stage. My least favourite part of the last level were the parts where I had to run through tight corridors and Yeah, well, this level is literally entirely tight corridors. Like, from start to finish, you are in between two walls. And not only that, but they curve a whole bunch. And unlike the last level, these ones don't allow you to build up speed and hold forwards to navigate the curves. No! You just have to keep changing the direction you hold down, even if you want Sonic to continue running forwards. The worst part is, every micro adjustment to the controller once again slams him straight into a wall. Eventually, Sonic even glitched through the wall and fell all the way down the level, and somehow ended up at the end. A happy accident. Perhaps even the game knew how frustrating it was and threw me a bone there. Back to the city, I was lost and talked to this little fairy who told me to go down the sewer, which is just what I did. I ended up finding some new shoes. Usually I wouldn't wear shoes I found in the sewer, but these ones allowed me to fly when I was near a string of rings, so I made an exception just this once. Also, it genuinely took me like 10 attempts to jump on this ledge, which made me pause and stare into the distance for a while, contemplating whether or not I'm actually an adult. Again, it's definitely me, but having Sonic beat this floaty definitely did not help. I'm not sure what the story purpose for Sonic poking around the sewer was, but oh well. Next, I wandered around for a little while again before realizing that I was once again stuck. I pestered the fairy and she told me to go inside the casino. First assault rifles, now the casino? Sega wasn't lying when they said they were really targeting Sonic to appeal to the American audience. When I get to the casino, I can't even get in, probably because Sonic is like, what, 15? But I break in using my new lightspeed powers and get to gambling anyways. Casinoopolis is actually the third stage, and to win it, we simply have to play some pinball until we win enough rings to fill the vault or something. Seems easy enough. Sonic is used as the pinball here, which seems like a pretty shitty rule that the guests have to follow. Do all guests have to be the ball when they want to play, or is it only Sonic? The entire machine is themed around Sonic, so maybe he's like a washed up celebrity in this town, with the only way he can make any money nowadays being making cameos at the casino and being the ball for wealthy patrons. Maybe all my questions will be answered in the sequel. I was fully prepared for Casinoopolis to suck Casinopolis, but it was actually really enjoyable. Probably says more about the timelessness of pinball, but for what it's worth, they definitely implemented it very well here. Sort of makes me wish they made an entire game that's just pinball. Whenever you run out of all 3 balls without collecting rings, you get dropped into the sewer here, which is absolutely packed with rings. So eventually I would just start losing on purpose so that I could get rich quick. After saving up 500 rings, I was able to nab the 3rd emerald, which Eggman instantly steals by spraying us with purple? Oh well. Shut up, Tails. I find this ice stone that looks exactly like the other key, so back to the Mystic Ruins it is. Why? I'm not too sure, but there's nothing else to do, so I guess I have to progress. I put the ice stone into an ice hole next to this ice door and it opens up to an ice world. This world, not that bad. This one actually didn't have as many fast corridor sections, but they replaced them with these slowest balls platforming sections where you have to jump on icicles, then shimmy to the other side of them and jump to the next one. Look, I know I've been b***ing about how bad Sonic feels when running at max speed through these tight sections, but the answer isn't to slow him down to the pace of a snail. But then halfway through, Sonic grabs a snowboard and he has to escape from an avalanche. This is sick! It starts with the camera in front of Sonic, where there aren't any actual obstacles. It's just meant to look cool and feel cool, and it does a damn good job. Then the camera flips and you actually have to start avoiding things. This is even cooler! This is honestly how I wish Sonic controlled throughout the entire game. When these controls are placed into an open area, you can really see that they truly do have a lot of potential, but are usually ruined by the fact that they try and force those same controls into areas that demand precision and responsiveness, and unfortunately, it just falls apart. I walk outside and I meet this Knuckles guy wanting a scrap. He really wants this emerald for some reason, and he kind of rocked my shit the first round. I'd actually wait for him to do this big showy punch before hitting him. Then my emeralds get knocked out and of course What's-His-Face comes in and feeds them to Chaos again. It eats them and turns into an eldritch monster, which we quickly deal with. Yeah, I didn't like this fight. Sonic could walk on water, but really slowly. Suddenly this giant ship appears and Eggman f***ed off with it.
The egg carrier!
The game wants me to know that I can now play with Knuckles. Is that an invitation? Alright, so after going back to the city, the red fairy girl tells me to go back to the Mystic Ruins. Alright then, so back in the Mystic Ruins, Knuckles asks me what I'm waiting for. Death. I head up to Tails' lab and he starts doing some bullshit inside. Suddenly the palm trees rotate onto their side and he pulls out with another f***ing plane. Alright Tails. Now we're treated to a lovely homage to the classic Sonic games. You know, where Sonic stands on the wing of Tails' plane and you shoot stuff. I consider this the last surviving remnant of Star Fox. After a while of absolutely bombing the shit out of some enemy planes and proving that the Earth is a globe, we land on the egg machine? The egg ship? What was it called again?
The egg carrier!
Just kidding, Tails' plane gets shot down once again. For f***'s sake, Tails, fix your f***ing maneuvering system or something. Jeez. Sonic then falls through the sky to his tragic and untimely death. Just kidding, everyone knows that if you land on sand head first, it actually cushions your fall completely. It's for the best, though, seeing as this little girl was standing right here to witness the whole thing. I don't know about her, but if I was 8 and I saw Sonic's brains get splattered all over the beach after a swim, I'll say it, it would ruin my day. Unfortunately, we can also assume that Tails survived, so off I go to start looking for him. Honestly, you'd think it'd be pretty easy to find a bipedal, bi-tailed talking fox in a city full of low polygon humans, but with the eerie emptiness of this setting and the fact that no clear direction or goal is provided, I found myself once again aimlessly wandering around the town until I triggered a cutscene. I tried not to rely on the red fairy girl as much, but quite honestly, I find the core story progression and streamlining of the game in general to be pretty poor, so she's almost a necessity on first playthroughs, unless you want to spend hours extra staring at these empty two-dimensional windows of Emerald City. Red fairy girl tells me to check out the casino again, and when I do, I run into Busty Mouse. Sonic malfunctions in front of Pink Rat. Come on, man. Hopefully he steps up his game in later entries. Oh, and Amy's not the only bird here. She's also carrying an actual bird, which she asks us to take care of. I really don't want to do that, and luckily the same can be said for Sonic, but you already knew that since we're one and the same. Amy says she's going to tag along with us, and then she just evaporates. I can only assume that Sonic scared her off in between the cutscene. Apparently, we're not even meant to go back inside the casino either. I have to go back through the hotel to the main part of the city, walk back across this random amusement park, and finally a cutscene will play. Okay, I'm sorry, this story progression is starting to piss me off. It almost feels like a Saturday morning cartoon, where random things happen at random times, but it lacks the distinct satisfaction and fluidity that those types of cartoons bring. Shit happens in those shows, but at least you can follow each action, understanding why each thing happens from scene to scene. When something happens in those shows, it's the result of something prior paying off. In this game, it's just walk around until you luck out, and then some random ass cutscene will play which dictates what you'll be doing with your thumbs for the next 10 minutes. Look, I'm not asking for Homer's Odyssey inside my Fast Hedgehog game from 1998, but I am asking for like a string of connectivity between scenes. Like, I'm looking at those Wattpad Sonic and Amy fanfics, and they're looking like the Divine Comedy in comparison to this. Amy appears again, and so does this evil robot, which Sonic plans to fight, but is distracted by Amy fawning over the amusement park. She seems to think that the two of them are already a couple, so perhaps Sonic really does have that game. It's yet to be seen. Sonic makes sick broman remarks about how women suck, and then we're dropped into Twink Park. Straight away, Sonic is killed in a tragic case of vehicular manslaughter. Then Sonic commits vehicular manslaughter, and I'm thrown on top of a futuristic looking highway. This part was pretty fun. The controls felt really responsive, and the high-speed racing reminded me of F-Zero, meaning that Sega, Nintendo's biggest rival at the time, put more effort into that series than Nintendo themselves have in the past 20 years. After the race, there's this short stage, which doesn't really have that much running. It's mostly vertical platforming. It was fine, I guess, nothing too egregiously infuriating, but nothing all that fun either. There are a bunch of monkeys and even these blob creatures, but not a single twink. Unless we're counting Sonic, maybe? I'm not sure. After we beat the stage, it's only now that Sonic realizes that he's lost Amy, and automatically assumes that the robot from before has nabbed her, so he decides he should go rescue her. This may seem small, but even this tiny shred of plot progression and reasoning behind Sonic's future actions was greatly appreciated, as it finally gave me an actual reason for me to do something. Once outside, a cutscene of an ID card falling plays. Once I pick it up, it says that I can now go into that building. And I don't know if the game knows this, but we're in the middle of a city, and cities are usually characterized by the distinct excess of buildings. Also, now the train station is closed, so I guess that narrows the amount of possible buildings by 1. It doesn't take me long to find the desired building though, as when I was walking around, this garage door suddenly opened, one that I had not even registered was there before. And most of the inaccessible doors in this game are just that, inaccessible. So I'm not sure why anyone would pay attention to this door in particular, but nevertheless, I go in. I'm taken to Speed Highway, and finally, I really enjoyed this stage. It was fast, yes, but the corridors were much more open than in previous levels, allowing for mistakes to not halt your momentum entirely. The nighttime city setting also looked gorgeous, and all in all, it was just fun to play. I died this one time while I was on a moving platform because when I jumped, Sonic didn't maintain the momentum of the platform. Also, while running down this skyscraper, Sonic can jump and gravity apparently brings him back down to the building. This level is great though, so no, I won't be focusing too hard on Sonic the Hedgehog's physics inaccuracies. I'm not entirely sure why we actually went through this stage though, seeing as once beating it, we just returned to the city hub. No Amy in sight. Did Sonic just pick up a random ID and break into a secret facility? Is that why these police cars were chasing him? If so, why did he do that? Oh well, it's only because he decided to randomly commit the crime of breaking and entering that I got to experience that level, so I don't really mind. I wander around for a bit and find Amy being taken away by the robot from before. They escape to the Mystic Ruins, so I follow them, only for Amy and the robot to escape again after they're taken up to the... what was it called?
The egg carrier!
I go through this random tunnel which opens up to this area with a huge bridge leading to a tiny island. Also, I pick up the Lightspeed attack upgrade by running into this ominous green light. Awesome. On the island, there's this huge f***ing emerald. You mean to tell me that we've been fighting over all these tiny emeralds when this massive one has just been sitting like 200 meters away the whole time? I mean, it makes sense that Sonic couldn't find it since the tunnel was blocked up, but Tails literally has a plane and it's actively searching for the emeralds. Same with Eggman, and they just happen to not find this one? Alright then. Sonic politely informs me through an idle animation that this is Angel Island, the same one from Sonic 3, the one where Knuckles is guarding the Master Emerald or something. Doesn't look like he's doing a very good job of guarding it, to be honest, seeing as I just walked up to it, but maybe given the fact that Tails and Eggman are apparently too stupid to find this, even though it's right out in the open, he decided it didn't really need guarding. Also, I fully thought that a massive cutscene was going to play once I touched the emerald, but no, nothing. I'm so confused. I backtrack to this monkey in a cage, and with my new ability, I make him f***ing explode, which for some reason opens a gate to the 7th stage, Red Mountain. The music low-key hits here, holy moly. I haven't really been paying attention to the music all that much, which is weird considering Sonic music has always been a highlight of the games for me. But to be honest, after hearing that city theme loop for the 100th time, I tuned everything out. Ladies and gentlemen, after completing the stage, I redact my former statement about Speed Highway. This is my favorite stage in the game, and by far. It's split into two sections, climbing up the volcano and platforming inside the volcano. Both are so distinct and unique in tone, gameplay style, and pace, but both work so well individually and complement the other one, leading to a stage that, to me, is the perfect package. While climbing up the volcano, you're doing a lot of platforming, hopping between floating rocks, using your homing attack to chain kills while also soaring through the air, using enemies to get higher and higher. It has this rhythmic, acrobatic flow to it. Then there are these zipline sections which are mostly on rails, meaning you don't have much control during these parts, but they're so fast and satisfying, so I don't really care. Then, once reaching the peak of the volcano, you jump in. Instantly the music switches from upbeat electronic track to the bass heavy rock song. It's much slower, having you avoid fire and magma as it rises, threatening to swallow Sonic if you're not precise enough. These platform sections are separated by rapid running sections, where you speed through hollowed out tunnels. Now listen to this. This right here solves almost all problems I had with the high speed controls up to this point. When you run into a wall now, Sonic automatically begins running up said wall, allowing the momentum to be fully retained, pairing itself perfectly with the touchy, impossible controls. This truly was a godsend, and it solidified this course as my favourite thus far. Once at the end of this final tunnel, we shoot out of the volcano, landing at the end point, and catching up to the egg machine. Wait, what's that sound? Oh, for f***'s sake. Tails decides to show his face, and with no other way to reach the
egg carrier!
He gives me a ride, and we're plopped into another Star Fox section. Sega really was doing so much more for those neglected Nintendo games than Nintendo ever was. After obliterating some ships, Tails transforms our plane into some sick-ass bombing jet. Tails, we're still not boys, but this is a good start. Good job, little man. We shoot a few more bots and then 1v1 the entire ship, and with like 10 zaps, we beat it. After our battle, Tails, the f***ing idiot, reveals that he forgot to put a landing mode into the cool looking plane. For f***'s sake, man! Okay, time to take on the sky deck. This stage was fine. It was brought down by these sections where you have to rotate yourself around these pillars, and it was so slow. Actually, there were lots of really slow sections in this level. Once you get to the top of the ship, there are these strong winds which just completely stop your momentum. Then when you get back to the ship, it keeps rotating, leading to heaps of waiting as the platforms slide around. Also, whoever decided it was a good idea to have a platforming level with shifting gravity needs to be fired immediately. Trying to make these precise jumps while the gravity is shifting every which way with no clear visual indicator of the orientation was, well, a decision. Now that that's over, we're back on the deck of the ship. Here we find Amy and Eggman. Eggman steals the little bird that Amy was holding, which apparently had an emerald on it this whole time. Did Amy not realize this? It's genuinely bigger than the actual bird itself. He then f***s off again and sends a robot after us, which we pitifully defeat within 3 homing attacks. Thank God, Tails and Amy decide to flee the crashing ship, and Sonic decides to continue on to find Eggman. Sonic says that he has to change the shape of the ship again for some reason, so I guess I have to do that before going into the captain's room. After fixing that, the red fairy, who for some reason followed me up here, thank God, tells me that Eggman is at the front of the ship. So, with all the previous boss fights in mind, let's hope he lasts a little bit longer than 3 homing attacks. At the front of the ship, Eggman is waiting for me, as well as his accomplice, Chaos, who is now looking pretty rad. Chaos has consumed 6 of the 7 Chaos Emeralds and... Who is that? Alright, let's just do the fight, I guess. This time, Chaos is impenetrable to homing attacks. What? Just kidding, there are these bots that Eggman drops and I need to homing attack those, which then run into Chaos and make him vulnerable. After that, 4 homing attacks takes him down. Well, at least it wasn't 3. Sonic falls to his death again and survives. We've arrived at this temple which the red fairy flies into. I trust her with my life, so in I go, I guess. This level is also sick. It starts off with fast corridors, but I don't know if it's just because I'm nearly at the end of the game and I'm clearly getting better, or if the direction Sonic would run would change automatically, but these were really fun. I didn't find myself crashing into walls as much. Then we go into this room with this stone snake, which swims around the center of the room, which we have to ride to press 3 buttons to open a door. That's pretty cool, I guess. In the next room though, more bloody gravity shifting platforms. This time you have to run up the tiles on the walls, and if you fall off at any time, you have to fully start again from the very bottom of the room. F*** this part. Straight after this, it's the end of the level too. F*** that part. Then the fairy chick leads me to a mural of some watery beast that looks slightly familiar. Then Sonic starts tripping balls and we're taken to Emerald Island, where there are a bunch of dead as f*** chows that are lying there dead as fuck. Everything's totally on fire, even the stones somehow. There's this girl echidna who sprints through the inferno to the Master Emerald, but Sonic then wakes up, before anything actually gets interesting. Suddenly, Eggman flies past again. I follow him through the jungle until I go through this door and end up in the final level. I'm not even gonna lie, I don't even have anything to say about this level. At this point, I was honestly done with the game. For the past few hours, I was just going through the motions, with no real story to follow and no motivation to go from each stage to the next. How can you really blame me? That, mixed with the subpar controls and mixed level design, I was just ready for this whole experience to be over. And yeah, to be honest, I was on autopilot. Not much to say about it, to be honest. At the end, there's this Eggman fight that actually wasn't that bad, and then, no joke, we emerge from the level, Eggman flies off, and I run into the distance with Tails. And then the credits roll. No f***ing joke. I know I just said that I wanted the game to be over, but they were at least building up to this huge boss fight against Chaos at the end, and I wanted to experience that at least, but no. I know exactly what they want me to do. They want me to complete every single storyline of all the different characters before I get to complete the true ending. And to be honest, f*** off. If Sonic is the headline of the game, I'd expect his portions to be the best, or at least the one with the most effort and love poured into it. And even then, it was,
"Glad I found you. Glad I found..."
a first start. Some ideas, some executed well and some actually executed. Look, I think if they fixed the controls and took out the painfully slow sections and the voice acting, you would still have an egregiously forgettable and nonsensical story with absolutely nothing to push each plot point forward, and a good starting point. The best part of the game was the opening cutscene. All in all, I'll give this game 5 gold rings. What that's out of yet, I'm not sure.